Cheers, boys. Happy Saturday. Um, I've appreciated the thoughts that came through this week, the highlight of my day. And, uh, and thank you for taking the time to put the thoughts that you did together. It's been a positive influence in my life. With it being Remembrance Day this week, I thought I'd just share a few experiences that we know of from my grandpa who served in the war. We don't know a lot. It was obviously a super respected topic. They didn't talk about it a lot. I remember my dad saying even 50 years after Grandpa had been home from the war, to ask him about the war would just absolutely tear him up inside. And so they learned not to ask, and if he ever wanted to share something, they would just listen. There's a few stories that have kind of been preserved, and anyway, nothing super significant. But I will get into a couple things just to kind of hit the topic of Remembrance Day. So Grandpa fought he was a regimental sergeant major, fought in the artillery division in France, Holland, Italy, and Germany. And the first experience that gets passed down is about food. So they mainly ate what's called hardtack. I don't really know what that is, and beef jerky. And so he shares the experience that they had cigarettes, and they would trade them anytime they could with local farmers for like anything, food, like eggs, anything different to just change it up. They had such a monotonous diet, add to the difficulty of what was already an extremely difficult situation. And then one of the cool kind of war stories that we always thought was cool as kids was he talked about so in the artillery division, they had this big gun. It was like a 4.5 inch gun. They had to dig a hole to get it prepared, and then they would shoot out of that. And sometimes they would dig the hole too deep, and when it fired, it would rip the earplugs right out of their ears, as all the air in the hole just got sucked out following the shell. And it was almost like, he said, it was almost like a mini concussion. And he always said he felt sorry for the guys in World War I because they didn't have those muzzle blasters on the ends of their guns that would help carry the sound away. Anyway, those are all, kind of light, fluffy stories. I remember an experience I had with my dad. We were at a work golf tournament in Crow's Nest Pass. I was just out of high school, and he'd been drinking, and so I was driving. And I don't know how it came up, but the war came up with Dad, and he went into one of the most emotional, kind of intense breakdown experiences I've ever seen out of my dad, and talked about the just the awful, the nightmares, and like the horrors of war. And I remember thinking after that, like he talked a little more specifically about like having to kill other people, and like evading people trying to kill you, and like just the awful realities that would have been a part of being in that experience. And I just remember thinking, yeah, that about summed up the reality of that experience, and how we should just always remember it, and remember it so that it never happens again. I like the word remember, and I'm glad we have Remembrance Day. I think remembering is a significant part of our gospel experience. It's used hundreds of times in the scriptures. Think about the sacrament prayers, how many times the word remember is used. And I think remembering, being able to remember key things, obviously determines the ability for us to live a successful life. And I think our natural capacity is to forget. And so remembering takes effort, and I think it's the reason why we do all the things we do. You boys sharing these thoughts every day is a symbol of remembrance throughout the day. Sometimes I just have a crazy busy day, and the only time I get through the day is to sit down and for a few minutes watch the video of one of you boys sharing your thoughts. And it helps me remember what's most important. It helps me remember the significant things in life that we need to spend time pondering and thinking about. And anyway, I love that word. I love that topic. I love Remembrance Day. I have a ton of respect for those that fought for us so that we could be free, so we could be sipping mate in the morning and looking out at the sun. enjoying the lives that the good lives that we have. I love you, boys. Hope this message finds you well. Happy Saturday.